What's up, guys? This is going to be kind of like a Sharpening 202 video. It's not talking about actual technique, it's talking about something that can be a bit of a problem to a lot of people, even advanced sharpeners. Some steels are more prone to this problem. Some sharpening methods make your knife more prone to this problem, etc., etc. It's a problem for everybody, whether you're a sharpening novice to a pro sharpener. It just happens, and it's something you have to deal with. And it's something that can be dealt with, and it's not like difficult to handle. It's just something that you need to know how to do, and you'll be able to handle it from there. One thing I want to say is, with all this crap going on recently, I know I'm getting dislikes and everything. That really doesn't bug me at all. But I don't want people to go around saying I hate people, like people are saying J Davis 882 hates Neptune. I don't hate anybody. I actually don't even mind Neptune. I don't have a problem with him as a person. So just wanted to say that. I try to be a kind person and not really hate anybody. Really, he's never done anything to me anyway. So anyway, this video is talking about burrs, and I kind of took what I consider a beater knife. I practiced sharpening on this, new techniques, new stones, stuff like that. So it's been beat up, and it's seen its fair share of sharpening, and you can see a subtle recurve here where I've actually ground away too much metal. Anyway, a lot of people ask me about burrs, and one guy in particular, I'm not going to say his name, he didn't ask me not to, I'm just not going to. Asked me about a burr and how to detect it and how to take care of it. First off, I'm going to try and show you what a burr looks like, if I can get it to register on this camera. I'm going to try and see if it will. I think you can see it. There's a little glint of light at the very apex of the edge. There's just a tiny glint of light. It looks like, I don't know what you would even call it, but you see this dark bevel right here at the very tip of the edge. There's just this little glint of light, and it's just a line running up the whole edge. That's my burr, and you can kind of see it better when my hand's behind there. See that reflection at the very end? That wouldn't be there if a burr wasn't there. And one easy way to detect a big burr like this is to just run your fingernail down the blade, and it catches like that. Trying to figure out, you can hear it, see it catching. This is a fairly big burr, and it's easy to detect with your fingers. Just with your fingernail, you just pull down. The way you're going to get a burr on this side is if you're sharpening this side of the blade. You have to be sharpening this side, and the metal will actually wrap around the edge and form a burr on the opposite side that you're sharpening. And you can see a burr this big. I just did this for demonstration purposes. You can normally see a burr this big, and you can feel it with your finger, just like that. It'll almost feel like a little hook on the end of the edge. And that's the way to detect big burrs. That's a burr that's going to happen around, it's going to be low, 400, anywhere from 120 all the way up to about 600 will form a burr this big. Anything above that, you're going to either need to have an advanced skill in feeling the burr, which has just come to me. I can feel a burr with my fingers all the way up to about 3,000 grit, and I can see it all the way up to about 6,000 grit, and that just comes from experience, which if you, after you know what a burr is through watching this video, you should be able to get your skill set up, and it won't take long before you can see and feel burrs all the way up into the really high 1,000 grit ranges. If you do have a problem seeing a burr past 1,000 grit, something like that, I suggest picking one of these up. It's a $12 pocket microscope from Radio Shack. It just takes one AAA battery, and as you can see, it lights up. And the easiest way to find a burr with this thing is to literally just look at your edge like that. Of course, you're looking in this viewfinder right here, but you're just looking for the burr, and what it's going to be is just literally a line that reflects light differently than the rest of the bevel, and it's gonna show you itself that way. A lot of people think when you have a burr on your knife that the knife isn't sharp, and that's not necessarily true. This has a huge burr, and it will still somewhat cut paper, as you can see. I mean, some people would mistake this for a sharp edge when actually it has an extremely big burr, and it's far from being sharp. Of course, this will cut you if you run your finger up the edge, because a burr is essentially what we in the sharpening world call a wire edge, and it's literally just a false edge. Think of it, this is your main grind right here. This point right up here where my fingers are coming together is your edge, but a wire edge is just a little protrusion like this, and it is sharp, but it can either flop to one side or the other like this, and it can dull pretty much instantly. That's why people pull their knives off the stones and they think it's sharp. Then they cut one thing and then their knife is dull. It's because their wire edge has flipped to one side and is technically sitting sideways, and it will not cut anymore. The reason you don't want a wire edge is A, because it can flip and mimic a dull blade, and B, it's just an area of weakened metal up here, and it's eventually going to break off and leave you with an unrefined edge. So you do want to take care of a burr. Now, if you can't see it with your naked eye and you don't have one of these yet, there is another way to find it. And the reason I haven't done this video for a couple days, this guy's been asking me, is because I've searched for a way to find a burr reliably. And I've literally put hours into this, sitting here brainstorming, and this is kind of a low-tech solution, but it works. Get a cotton swab Q-tip. Let's see if I can focus in. Get a cotton swab Q-tip like this and fray the end, and of course you're sharpening this side, so the burr is going to be on this side. If you're not sure, you can just do this on both sides to detect the burr. Fray the cotton swab and literally just pull it across the edge, and if you have a burr, then it's going to catch on these fibers and it's going to pull them off. You may actually be able to see the edge. Did you see it grab? It's grabbing those fibers and pulling them off. It's not working as good as it was off camera. Let me see. Yeah, it's actually pulling them off and leaving little traces of fibers on the edge, but of course this camera isn't picking it up, even though it is a good camera. You just need to get this as frayed as possible and have as many loose fibers as you can have, and then run it across the edge, and you'll feel the burr. It'll actually grab at the fibers, and B, it'll leave little fibers behind, and you will be able to see it in real life. It's just not working on this camera. Try and get it to where you can see it pull on it. Anyway, let me see if I can show you a couple of the fibers. If I can zoom in that far. Of course I can't. There's a little remnants of it up here by the tip, and some fibers in this area. You're going to be able to see it a lot better with your naked eye, but it does reliably tell you if you have a burr. First and foremost, it's going to catch, and you're going to feel it tug on the Q-tip. And also, if you flip it to the other side, and I need to show this to you also, you flip it to the other side and do the same test, and it doesn't catch the fibers. You see how they're just kind of sliding off? It's it's not catching, you're not hearing a catch, you're not feeling a catch, then you flip over and do the same thing, and you hear and feel the fibers being pulled. And that's probably the most reliable way that I found to detect a burr. On this side, it's completely smooth. There's absolutely no pull. You flip it over, and you can feel a definite difference. It just feels like little jagged pieces of metal pulling at the fibers. And this is a really good way to detect them. It's probably the most obvious way. Burr removal. If you're a sharpening novice, the best way to remove a burr is to actually get a piece of cork from a wine bottle, a piece of felt, or even a piece of wood like this. If you're not talented enough, or not, I shouldn't say talented, if you're not skilled enough to be able to take it off with a stone, then the easiest way to do it, and I still do this occasionally, I actually do it a lot, and it really does. It's very effective, and it's a good way to know for a fact that you remove the burr. You literally just plant the edge in the wood and make a draw slice through it. You're not trying to cut into the wood, you're just sticking the edge on there, applying a little bit of pressure and pulling through. And what that's doing is actually grabbing the burr and ripping it off. And after you make 3 or 4 pulls through this, you can actually feel when the burr is gone. And it's a pretty effective way. I won't say it's 100%, but it is a very, very, very effective way to pull a burr off. And a big burr like this is going to be too much for the wood to remove, just because it is such a hardy, strong burr. But if you're sharpening and you formed just a little burr, which it's not going to be this big, I did this just for the sake of demonstration, the wood is going to be more than enough to pull it off. And you're not actually dulling your edge in between stones. Say you deburr between the 1000 and the 2000 grit stone, you're not actually dulling your knife on the wood, you're just pulling the burr off, so you have a clean edge for the next step. I'll show you what it looks like with a burred edge when you're cutting through paper. It appears sharp. Some of the burr came off when I pulled it through the wood, so of course it appears sharp, but it tears through the paper. When you don't have a burr, and I'm just going to pull it off with a stone, when you don't have a burr, it will be much smoother like that. It's going to be a much cleaner cut. It's not going to tear the paper, and it's not going to have nearly the amount of drag. It's just going to cut like an edge should. And now that I pulled that big burr off, I'll zoom in on the edge one last time and see if I can make a little comparison and show you that that little glint of light is gone. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the glint of light at the very, very apex of the edge is gone now. And that's where the burr was. It was literally just a big chunk of metal folded over from the other side. And once you take care of it, you no longer see that glint of light. I hope this helps. I know it was kind of drawn out. I didn't really have any script set forth for this, so I hope it was coherent. But again, remember, fray the end of a Q-tip and run it up your edge if you think you have a burr. If you have $12, go to Radio Shack, pick you up one of these excellent pocket microscopes. They help a ton. And if all else fails, go edge first into a piece of wood, and it's almost guaranteed to deburr your knife. So anyway, I hope that helps. If not, let me know, and I'll try and think of a more positive way to show this. I may even buy a little microscope so I can show you. I don't know. But thanks for watching, guys. Let me know. You know who you are. Let me know if this answered your questions, and if not, I'll try and do something a little bit more thorough and more thought out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.